A priest, a rabbi, and an atheist walk into a bar. Walks into a bar. The bartender points to a sign that says, "No jokes served here," and asks them to leave. They head out without a word. The next day, a horse walks in. Same deal. Bartender points to the sign, and with a long face, the horse leaves. The following day, a chicken walks in. The bartender points to the sign again and says, "Sorry, no jokes served here." The chicken, annoyed, asks, "Fine, but where can I get a drink?" The bartender replies, "There's a bar across the road." A chicken spots a duck by the side of the road and yells, "Don't do it, buddy. You'll never hear the end of it." A woman has to go to Italy for a conference, so her husband drives her to the airport. "Thank you, honey," she says. "Is there anything I can bring back for you?" He laughs and says, "An Italian girl." When the conference is over, he meets her at the airport and asks, "How was the trip?" "Very good," she replies. "And what happened to my present?" he asks. Confused, she replies, "Which present?" "The one I asked for, the Italian girl," he answers. With a sly grin, she replies, "Oh, that. I did what I could, but we'll just have to wait 9 months to see if it's a girl." 3 guys discuss whose wife is the most stupid. "Mine bought a kitchen for $10,000 and she cannot even cook." "Yeah, mine bought a car for $20,000 and she cannot drive." "Ah, that's nothing. Mine bought 100 condoms for a business trip, and she does not even have a penis." Professor X asks a girl, "What is your mutant power?" Girl replies, "I can guess how many pulls to turn a ceiling fan off on the first try." She points up and says, 3 pulls. Professor X stands up and pulls 3 times. After the 3rd pull, the fan turns off. Professor X, "Yeah, that's cool and all, but not really a superpower." Girl, "Yeah, I was just kidding. I can heal paraplegics." Professor X, still standing, "Oh my god." Professor X, "What's your superpower?" Mutant, hindsight. Professor X, "Well, that won't be any use to us." Mutant, sadly, "Yes, I see that now." A man and his wife and his mother-in-law went on vacation to the Holy Land. While they were there, the mother-in-law passed away. The undertaker told them, "You can have her shipped home for $5,000 or you can bury her here in the Holy Land for $150. The man thought about it, told him he'd just have her shipped home. The undertaker asked, "Why would you spend $5,000 to ship your mother-in-law home when it would be wonderful to have her buried here and spend only $150? The man replied, "A man died here 2,000 years ago. He was buried here. 3 days later he rose from the dead. I just can't take that chance. I've spent the last 7 years tirelessly looking for my mother-in-law's killer. So far no one will take the job." All the beer you can drink for $1. A guy is walking around town when he sees a bar with a sign advertising, "All the beer you can drink for $1. He thinks that's a great deal, so he goes in, sits down, hands the bartender $1, and asks for a beer. "Sure, right away," says the bartender as he pulls out a tiny shot glass and fills it up halfway. The man is stunned. "What the hell is this?" he asks. "That's all the beer you can drink for $1. I used to see a bar in Az that had a sign that said, 'Free beer tomorrow.' It was always, 'Today,' every time I went. There used to be a local band where I live who called themselves, Free Beer. Bars stopped inviting them for gigs after a while, because the signs saying, 'Free beer tonight,' were too confusing." True story. A truck loaded with Worcestershire sauce is driving through Saskatoon, Saskatchewan when it collides with a Nissan Qashqai. The truck then careens down the road and hits a car from Massachusetts, injuring the 2 otorhinolaryngologists inside. One of them, suffering from schistosomiasis, has a myocardial infarction. A bystander witnesses the entire event and quickly calls to report the accident on his Huawei. The emergency operator asks the bystander, "What happened?" "It's hard to say." 911, "Help, my wife is having a heart attack. We're on Chrysanthemum Street. How do you spell that?" "CHRY. "Look, what say I just drag her over to Oak Street, already?" What's the difference between a Tesla and a cactus? A cactus has the pricks on the outside. The difference between a Harley and a Hoover is the position of the dirt bag. A 60-year millionaire is getting married. His friends are jealous and one of them asks how he landed such a hot 23-year-old blonde beauty. "Blonde. Simple," grins the millionaire. "I faked my age." His friends are really amazed and ask him what age he told her. He replies, I said I was 87 inches. I was well on my way to becoming a millionaire. I had a sex toy business that specialized in gold-plated butt plugs. One day I got a cease and desist letter from Apple. Apparently they hold the patent on selling overpriced shit for assholes. Oh man, this made me laugh a little too hard, that the butt plug came out. I mean the iPhone. A cop found Class A drugs on me. A policeman searched me in a nightclub toilet last night and found a small bag of Class A drugs. It's not my fault, I said. Every time I try flushing them down the toilet they magically appear back in my pocket again. Do you really expect me to believe that? He laughed. I said, I'll prove it to you if you want me to. Go on then, he said, handing me the bag. I flushed them down, then he looked at me and said, well, show me your pocket then. What for? I asked. He said, the drugs. I replied, what drugs? A cop came up to me with a sniffer dog and said, this dog tells me you're on drugs. I said, I'm on drugs? You're the one talking to dogs. I was standing at the bar in an international airport when this small Chinese guy comes in, stands next to me, and starts drinking a beer. I asked him, do you know any of those martial arts things, like Kung Fu, Karate, or Jiu-Jitsu? He says, no, why the fuck would you ask me that? Is it because I am Chinese? No, I said, it's because you're drinking my beer, you little fucker. Love having that shit turned around. 3 guys were sitting in a biker bar. A man came in, already drunk, sat down at the bar and ordered a drink. The man looked around and saw the 3 men sitting at a corner table. He got up, staggered to the table, leaned over, looked the biggest one in the face and said, I went by your grandma's house and I saw her in the hallway, butt naked. Man, she is fine. The biker looked at him and didn't say a word. His buddies were confused, because he was a badass, and would fight at the drop of a hat. The drunk leaned on the table again and said, I got it on with your grandma and she is good, the best I ever had. The biker still said nothing. His buddies were starting to get mad. The drunk leaned on the table again and said, I'll tell you something else boy, your grandma liked it. The biker stood up, took the drunk by the shoulder and said, damn it, grandpa, you're drunk. Go home. We discovered my grandpa is addicted to Viagra. No one is taking it harder than grandma. My girlfriend is the square root of -100. She's a perfect 10, but also imaginary. Our relationship is complex. I'm trapped in a love triangle. I love a girl that loves no one and no one loves me. A judge calls opposing counsel into his chambers and says, gentlemen, I've called you here to discuss a very serious matter. Both of you have given me bribes to influence my decision. The lawyers begin to squirm in their seats. Mr. Morgenstern, you have given me $40,000 to rule in your favor, and Mr. Atkinson, you have given me $50,000 to rule for you. He hands Atkinson $10,000 in cash and says, now that you are both even, I intend to decide the case purely on its merits. A young lawyer was defending a wealthy businessman in a lawsuit. The lawyer feared he was losing the case and asked his senior partner if he should send a box of very expensive cigars to the judge to earn some favor. The senior partner was horrified and explained, this judge is a very honorable man. If you do that, I guarantee you will lose the case. A couple of days later, the judge ended up ruling in the young lawyer's favor, delivering a massive win for the businessman. Patting him on the back, the senior partner asked, hey, now aren't you glad you didn't send him those cigars? The young lawyer said, oh, I sent them. I just included my opponent's business card in the box with them. Jimmy McGill, is that you? A newly opened bar has a sign outside, beer for only $3. A man sees the sign, walks into the bar and orders a beer. After finishing the beer, the man takes out 3 $1 coins from his pocket, and feeling a bit mischievous, gets up from his seat, walks to one end of the counter and places a $1 coin there. He then walks over to the other end of the counter and places another $1 coin there. Finally, he walks back to his seat and places the third $1 coin right in the middle of the counter. The bartender gives him an odd look but has no other option but to walk the entire length of the bar counter to pick up the coins. This went on repeatedly over the next few days, and each day the bartender felt more and more annoyed at the man's behavior. One day, the man returns again to order a beer but realizes he doesn't have enough $1 coins to place them all over the counter. So, he hands the bartender a $5 note. At this point, the bartender gets all excited and thinks that it is finally his day to get his revenge on the man. The bartender quickly takes out two $1 coins and places them at opposite ends of the counter. With a grin on his face, the bartender goes back to the man and says, "Go on then, collect your change." The man then takes out a single $1 coin from his pocket, slides it over to the middle of the counter, and says, "One more beer, please." What was even the point of the bartender's revenge? The customer obviously isn't bothered by walking up and down to place the coins on the counter in the first place. Here's the version I know. A guy walks into a bar and asks for a beer. "That'll be $5, says the bartender, and the guy throws a bunch of coins onto the floor. Reluctantly, the bartender picks up the coins and serves him the beer. The next day, the guy comes into the bar, asks for a beer and throws a bunch of coins onto the floor. The next day, he does the same. On the fourth day, he asks for a beer, and hands the bartender a $10 note. The bartender takes advantage of his chance for revenge and throws a bunch of coins onto the floor. He yells, "Here's your change." The guy looks down at the coins and says, "I'll have another beer, please."